come round and get on bed next to us, and I see him like double checking, like what the fuck's going on here. We carried on, and this kid's like looking over at us, and then this girl like nudges and goes, what's going on with you three? So we all just went, we're in a three-way relationship. I watched a video where there's probably 3,000 or 4,000 pupils all on this massive court, all doing boxing.
Yeah, I've seen that.
The exact same technique at the exact same time. Nobody's out of line. It's like marching, and I know how hard marching was from when I was in Navy. And there's only 30 of you walking, and some dumb idiots TikToking down fucking parade, whereas these kids are throwing fucking 3 and 4 punch combos at the perfect time, making the noises at the exact same time, and they're drilling that into their kids.
He's been at the highest of the high, probably one of the most famous boxers that we've seen in a while, and still can't be at peace with just that relaxed life. He's chasing that buzz, he's chasing that thrill, and I think for men at that level who have had those highs, it must be hard to live a quote-unquote average or mundane just existence. You almost can't fathom that. Go into your calendar now.
Thursday 31st would be good for me.
Thursday the 31st, how's that look?
2 week today.
2 week today.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Ellis here, and I'm thinking he's wanting professional tables straight off the bat.
Strippers walking around with shot glasses and that.
Come see the venue, let's get this boxed off and we'll go from there.
Yeah. All right.
Right, you're a star, mate, thank you.
All right.
Cheers. See, fucking just get me involved, mate. Put me in front of him, I'll close him.
Think to that.
Nevin versus Tierney.
Yeah.
I have to back my boy there, mate.
Yeah, 100%. Nevin's definitely getting on this. Someone's definitely said, you need to start fucking calling people out on social media or you're not going to get these fights.
Here we go again. People talking shit, but when the shit hit the fan, everything I'm not made me everything I am.
Guys, anyone who wants to support the podcast, we'll get the designs better, but at the minute it's just some plain stuff so you can rep the brand, support the podcast. It helps us grow the channel and whatnot. It's a fucking absolute tune, this, man.
Listen to it all time.
All time.
I
forget you can see, because we're on saying fully game YouTube, you can see what I'm search. I can see what you search as well.
Can you really? Has the dodgy been
Let's have a
up?
little fucking scout. I'm freaking out. Danny Christie, Dillian Dennis, Lo-Fi, Drake Central C on the radar, Aubrey Marcus, not too bad.
Do you know the
Charlo
Lo-Fi?
versus Canelo, that might have been me. Wim Hof breathing technique, it's probably you.
That's me every
Queen's
day.
English, me.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is? Because I think it might have been Andrew Tate who said, oh no, it was Tristan Tate, that a fundamental, I've noticed in just talking on the podcast that I feel rusty with my language. I use a lot of filler words, and I know what you mean a lot. So I like self-critiquing myself, how lazy I've got in language. And that was some of the first advice that I got when I wanted to start speaking better and been better at sales. It's like that. So I did that, then you don't need to say that. So I have to keep refreshing my memory. And I think that comes from just lack of reading. And a thing I used to do, which is it's weird, it were from a guy called Alton Bugs, podcasts. I still have to listen to a podcast to fall asleep. But he understood that personal development, if you've not done it, you needed to do it day and night. And he even believed that the things that you listen to on a night time on the podcast, he used to have a sleeping mask. I've got one now, where it's got audio as well. And just go to sleep listening to sort of like Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil, Think and Grow Rich. Just have that programmed, because there was science, I don't know how true it is, that you take it in.
Do you really?
Even while you were sleeping.
What, you think your subconscious mind takes it
It
in?
must to a degree. Because I was joking to you yesterday that we've just been speaking off camera about me potentially trying to knock weed on Ed. I feel like you've come at me with a bit of an intervention today, which I appreciate. And it's been making me a little bit paranoid on the night, because what I've been doing, we speak there about getting your sleep right. What I do, because I don't smoke till an evening, I'll just chill on the sofa. And I'll be honest, usually then fall asleep on the sofa.
Worst thing you can do.
Worst thing you can do, because I never fully have a full rest. I'll wake up, I don't even know what time it is, and just make me go to bed. My little dog's in my position. If I have to beat him up. And I feel you're not giving yourself that competitive edge there, are you? That deep rest.
Sleep schedule wise, you're meant to dim your lights an hour before you go upstairs to bed. No blue screen at all. If you do, you have it on night shift and dark mode. Your temperature wants to be cold, and you want to be going to bed and waking up at the same time every day.
Do you find it easy the getting up I could do if I were disciplined enough and I set an alarm, I would get up. It's just my ability to get myself off on a night is the tough thing for me.
It's that, mate. It's just literally shutting down. Let's say you go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. If you can shut down at 8:30, put your laptop away, put your phone away, put something you enjoy watching on TV, dim your lights. I don't know, I do a lot of, especially when I've just been away, I've been doing a lot of breathwork stuff, just like, as often as you can, remind yourself about smelling a rose. If you're going to smell a rose, you'd get your nose right into it and you're like, you'd have a deep smell of it. So every now and then, just think you smell into a rose and just fill your diaphragm up. And if you can do that as often as you possibly can, it's scientifically proven to put you into a more relaxed state. So if you can do that on a night and just properly prep your sleep, and don't just jump in bed at 11 o'clock at night. If you're right, it's bedtime now, phone outside on charge, see you later, I'm going to fall asleep. It's not going to work. You've got to actually build yourself into it a little bit. So that's one major thing I'm trying to change is my sleep routine. I have no problem falling asleep, by the way. I could probably jump in bed at 10 o'clock and put Bob Proctor's meditation on and be asleep within 5 minutes. But one thing I've realised is when I wake up on a morning, another bad habit I want to get out of is going on my phone first thing.
I'm like an addict this morning because I fell asleep on the sofa. I'm looking for the phone.
Yeah.
Like it's a crack fix. Yeah. Like, where the fuck's my phone? I'm like, then secondary, I'm like, hope it's not out of battery.
Yeah.
That's weird. I think to myself, that's fucking super strange that I'm behaving like that around. Because you're only, other than, I think to myself, what am I really getting out of it?
Nothing, mate.
Nothing.
You know what I realised? This last week, I went on my phone 3 or 4 times, a couple of times to message you, one time to promote Danny's podcast on the Fully Game. And other than that, I was using maps, which I just kept my phone on Do Not Disturb. Other than that, I didn't go on my phone and I did not miss one bit. I didn't take any other content in other than podcasts or watching little clips that you'd put on.
Do you feel you could from that then? Do you feel, there's 2 questions I've got from that. Do you feel you could schedule time to browse on your phone? Or do you feel it'd be hard to honour that?
I don't
Because like if you looked at your screen time now, do you think it'd be worse than mine?
Nowhere near.
You think yours is...
Let's have a look. Let's check it out.
Mine's going to be fucking horrific, mate. I'm really going to be embarrassed by this.
Mine's worse than I thought.
6 hours 22.
4 hours 56.
Fuck me. 6 hours of my life I'm wasting.
Yeah.
God damn.
But how much of that do you think's productive?
Not a lot.
What sort of shit are you watching? Are you watching...
I have a same pattern that I do because I get so many notifications and so many WhatsApps and I run my lead stuff through there. I don't want to bore people because it's boring, but I'm more just getting an acknowledgement of that. I could do that once a morning, maybe twice a day.
But this is why I have no notification. The only notification I've got on right now is my WhatsApp, and that's only because...
I had Kyle Jeff ring me at 8 a.m.
That's exactly why I have no notifications on.
Yeah.
Like I was sat watching this new Alien thing that's come out with Aubrey. I had Emily's phone next to me this morning while she was packing to leave, and my phone next to me, and I'm there watching it, trying to like take notes and just show what I'm interested in. And every time that buzzed, I'm like, no, it's not even my phone. It doesn't even show me what gets said on it. It just shows a notification. But as soon as something happens out the corner of your eye, it's your natural survival instinct to see what it is. So if I have my notification on, I'm glancing down every time, it just takes me away from it. So going back to the flow state thing I talked about, which to edit podcasts, you want to be in a bit of a flow state so you can make the content the best it can be as fast as you can do it and enjoy it as much as you can. If you've constantly got something catching your eye, it's going to take you so much longer. You're going to get bored. You're going to start hating your job. This is why from now on when I'm editing, that's going to go down, out of sight, on flight mode, no interruptions, probably schedule little breaks in between.
Yeah.
But for scheduling phone time, I don't feel like the only content I like to take in is stuff I'm going to learn from now. Like even sometimes watching impulsive podcasts, because a lot of it's shit that they're talking about and fake fighting with his brother and stuff like that.
It's
even
entertainment.
That, it's entertainment, which it's good to pass a bit of time if you're driving or if you've seen clips and you want to see this part that's in it. It's all good. But I just feel like sitting and scrolling on stuff like TikTok and that's just such a big waste of time. But TikTok on the other hand, you can actually go down some good educational rabbit holes. Like for NC 500, the routes that we're choosing there were all TikTok. Sometimes
was that a bit of a bucket list trip then? So you've just done the NC 500?
Not for me, it won. I've never even thought about it, but it was for Emily's birthday, basically. I'd got her that as a gift. And once I didn't even know what it was. Once I'd actually researched it, it can become a bit of a bucket list sort of job. I feel like a week's...
Bit overkill.
A week's overkill to live in a motorhome, but it's like underkill to explore everything on NC 500. It was just an all-round good trip, mate. It's ticked off the list now. I wouldn't recommend it over a broad holiday. For the amount of money that it costs to rent the motorhome and stop in campsites and pay for food. And
You'd rather be away.
I'd rather be away. Not having to clean my own shit up. And not
I've been toying with getting a panel van conversion. Just because with the dog now, I know it sounds fucking cheesy as fuck. That it's just I feel because Artley, one of my clients, has been pushing me into the direction of visiting Dubai and visiting these countries that are, you know, probably potential future plans, or I've got an interest in maybe what sort of lifestyle could happen over there, but I don't know. I don't know me. I don't know.
Why is Hartley pushing you towards that?
I think he just feels it'll be it's luxury. The hotels that he's been showing me.
What, is he going to go with you, mate?
No, he's just been. He got his business run probably similar age to me, where he started making some all right money, and I think sometimes you need to go. Probably, I want to see that side. I've never really been on what I'd call a luxury holiday, mate. I've never visited sort of any of these places where it'd be a true on true 5-star resort, probably looked after like a king and all this sort of stuff. And I feel Dubai offers that if you want to pay the money. And
I don't want that though.
no, would that interest you? So he mentioned something to me. Flying does stress me out.
Yeah.
So let's say a Dubai flight's 8 hours, but imagine being able to experience true first class or business class there, where you've got your own booth and there's a bar upstairs and a shower. I know it sounds trivial, that, but I think once in my life, I'd like to see what is possible with that sort of luxury style of flying.
It's never really attracted me that much. One, because it's like 5 to 10 grand to fly. You could have 4 more holidays for the price of that one first class flight. Plus, most of the time I sleep anyway, or I watch a film, or I'll read, which you can do all of them. What else are you getting apart from an extra bit of space and a bit more privacy?
Yeah, and you've got 8 hours in it, like you said there. Part of it's sleeping and chilling, but I don't know if it's to experience it so you can feel what it feels like. Would that motivate me to push on and
Stuff like that don't motivate me.
done it?
No. So we had Carla on the podcast, and she talked about when she flew first class, and she was like, and I was like, champagne please, and like milking it in like that. I'd be the totally opposite to that, because I'd feel like I wouldn't deserve it. I've gone through a thing recently, I spoke to Emily about it, where I feel like I'll achieve something and do I deserve that? I don't know if it's like self-doubt or whatever from just growing up as a kid. I feel like if I was sat in first class, like when I flew to LA, I went in first class, but I was like, fucking hell, I'm flying to LA whilst all my mates are at home. Do I deserve to be in this place? What I'd much rather do is, it's kind of contradicting to what I'm saying there, but I'd much rather me and the boys chip in and get a private jet somewhere so that you could actually stand up and fucking party and do whatever you want. And I think it wouldn't be that much difference. Wise if 4 of you jumped in, it'd be 20 grand or whatever, rather than paying
So
5 grand each.
just so I can dissect that and understand that then. So if the luxury items in life doesn't motivate you, what is the driver for you then? If you were to really be honest with yourself, and let me just turn this off and think about that, what would be the driver? Is it financial freedom? What is it?
Yeah.
Because if finances is what's point in making all that money if you're not going to go and enjoy it with the experience, you just want to bank it?
No, when I say it don't motivate me, I mean, if I went and jumped on a first class flight now that I'd spent 5 grand on and flew to Dubai for a week, I'd fly back and I'd think, depending on how Dubai went, if I made connections or if I got anything out of it, but I'd just come back and I think, did I just really spend 5 grand on a flight? I'm not going to think that's going to motivate me to make that money back, or it's going to motivate me to do this now so I can do it more often. I think what motivates me more is like financial freedom is one of them, and being able to, I could travel economy, or like when we went to Dublin, I were happy to travel bus and rail. That don't bother me, especially after reading the Green Light Matthew McConaughey book, how he lived in a camper van for years, and he didn't care about whereabouts he lived or who he was bimbling about with. He lived on like scruffy campsites with people who just kept minded their own business. Yeah. But when he speaks about going over to Amazon and all that and spending time with tribes and gaining experience, which would probably cost way less than going to Dubai on a first class flight for 5 days anyway, I'd much rather do that. I'd much rather have the financial backing to be able to travel the world.
And is that why Dubai doesn't inspire you? Because I'm not saying there's no culture out there, but you'd rather go visit places which has got some more tradition, culture, and stuff like that.
100%, I think. I feel like anyone can, if anybody wanted to do this in Dubai, if anyone wanted to go to Dubai now from round here, they could pucker up 3 grand. Anyone could do that. Could work for a month in a fucking warehouse and go to Dubai and take pictures. And in a way, they'd be showing off because they can't afford that holiday. They've been able to pay for it, but they're fucking living on beans on toast for a month after that. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of people go there for wrong reasons. And if me and you went on holiday to Dubai now with no connections, don't have a clue what's what.
Yeah, we'd probably just, I say this to our lass, and I think she knows this deep down, that we'd probably just end up chilling.
You'd chill around
and you
pool.
could chill anywhere. You could chill in.
You could chill in Alicante. You've done
yeah,
that instead.
like if because at the core of it, there it's your company, isn't it?
Mm.
So yes, you could have the luxury hotels and whatnot, but if it comes back down to who you're going with.
Yeah.
Do you want to spend time with them? Do you want to
Yeah. And I feel like you'd be doing wrong things. You'd be boozing. You'd be eating out expensive meals. You wouldn't make any new. I don't know what you're like. I wouldn't want to speak to anybody else over there, or I'd be like a bit cautious of who they are. And you're just very, very small fish in a big pond in Dubai. I don't care how much money you've got over here. When it goes over there, it's a different story. What else I got from reading the Matthew McConaughey book is that I've never enjoyed or wanted to travel anywhere on my own. LA was probably the most I'd been on my own for, but I was meeting a friend out there, so it wasn't much of a big deal. But with him just packing up and going on his own, I thought, actually, that would be mint to just forget about everything back here, having that financial backing and going and just travelling place to place. He walked like 18 miles to go to the next tribe, and I just thought, fucking hell, that'd actually be pretty cool to just not know anybody. It wouldn't be financially challenging, and you'd gain so much.
And when he's saying he's going to these tribes, is this pre-planned? What's the thinking behind that?
So, I don't know how much of the story I believe, because he had a not a ghostwriter, but somebody writing it with him. He went to the Sahara Desert and probably a bunch of other places to write his life story out. And it says in his story, he was stuck in a bit of a loop. He'd gone from just doing normal work to low-level acting. And when he started to get bigger jobs, he was stuck in a rut doing rom-coms, which he didn't like. He didn't like playing
He was
that
sort of the
character.
rom-com guy for a while, wasn't
Yeah. And then he said this one night he had a dream that he was floating down the Amazon River with a python wrapped around him, alligators chasing him, piranhas surrounding him. All tribesmen stood in line, shoulder to shoulder at side. And all of a sudden he woke up and he had a wet dream over it. So he was like, right, I want to go to Amazon. I need to see what this dream is that I've got. I'm going to find
it's weird that you had a
something."
wet dream, though, a bit.
Yeah, because I've never had a wet dream.
I have.
Never in my life had a wet dream.
Never?
No. Never.
I don't know.
But were you wet dream over something sexual, I'm guessing?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, well, he did it over...
Well, I'm saying probably. Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
And he did it over tribesmen being around him, which is
Bit
why
weird,
I've got
isn't
a little bit of disbelief. And then he just packed up a couple of days later and gnashed and just were chasing this dream. The only other one he had was because he'd always wanted to be a father from a young age, and he was just sleeping about with all these people. His dream was that he was sat in a big mansion with a big acres of land around him, and I think he said 12 black cars come in, and it's got 12 different women in who've got 4 different kids each, and they're all coming to him, and he's like really old, and they all stand on porch and they're all laughing and joking. It's like he's a bit of a player and he's got kids everywhere. Then as a picture of them all gets taken, he comes again, which is also a little bit weird because he's having a picture of his kids. And then I think he said he went up and packed off and went somewhere else now and followed like another belief. But I feel like if I were booking one of them trips, I'd have to plan it. I'd have to plan way ahead. But his were just like an off the cuff. This is what I'm going to do, which if he's got the money to back it, that's all good and well.
Yeah. It leans us on to we were saying off camera there that I've been watching, I watched 2 episodes last night of the new Tyson Fury documentary on Netflix. You don't know how much, like you say there with the ghostwriting for Matthew, how much is fabricated for entertainment, but there is a good insight into his mind there. You know, gypsy descent, how he wants to live. He's in this beautiful mansion now, 6 kids, wife, but still, he's been at the highest of the high. Probably one of the most famous boxers that we've seen in a while, and still can't be at peace with just that relaxed life. He's chasing that buzz, he's chasing that thrill, and I think for men at that level who have had those highs, it must be hard to live a quote-unquote average or mundane just existence. He almost can't fathom that. And it was interesting to see just how he's probably got all the money in the world, I would surmise, Tyson Fury, from what he's made from boxing, but still chooses to live in Morecambe Bay, and how he lives, and he's still doing, again, I don't know if it's entertainment, but he was like doing the tip run, keeping the garden clean. He's like you know, you mentioned, and we'll get into this, that you've got a little bit of OCD with cleanliness. Your house must be a certain way so you can just be at a baseline level of thinking. He was like that, you know, sweeping yard, everything has to be perfect for him. Mm-hmm. Why do you feel that's the case for you? Is it just why is it an OCD tendency that to keep everything clean? Even how you dress it's all thought out, and I just don't think like that. Yeah. Just like, right, have I got some clean chuggy bottoms? I'm going to wear some new stash. Boys, make sure you buy your stash. Put some Vans on that. I think these are like 10 years old. And that's all she wrote. And I used to care though. So I don't know if it's a negative on my part that now I'm not really as interested in that. When I was probably single, probably a bit more thinking, right, what should I be wearing? What should I be doing?
It's not so much that I even care. Like this outfit, I was close. I put on like a tight gym top.
So you trying a couple of outfits out before you
It's not even that I tried. I just grabbed the first thing because I've obviously just come back from a trip. Most of my stuff's either in wash or packed away.
Yeah.
So I went into my wardrobe. I found a half decent top and thought, right, I'll put them on. Put this on. Went to go find some shorts. Couldn't really find any. So I'm like, right, what else can I wear? Seen this top and I thought, can't wear that with shorts. Oh, I know. I was going to wear this outfit the other day. So I stuck them on, chucked these trainers on because they're black. Yeah. And that were it. With regards to the house, I'm not exactly OCD where if anything's out of line, it needs to be set this way. Or if this kitchen isn't fucking sparkling, I'm not eating in it. It's just like if I'm working at my kitchen table and there's mess on the side or there's a bit of egg yolk dried on the side or something like that, I'm like, I can't fully focus on things because I know I've got to do that after or in between. I feel like if everything around me is clean and tidy, you know that feeling when you've tidied your house and it's like you're walking around it like, oh, you just feel fresh and clean and that's when I work at my best. So that's, and then
I take it for granted a bit, minute, because Amy just seems that's just I get home and it's remedied.
And I've also got this thing built into me, which I'm going to talk about with the Tyson Fury thing. Even though he's got all this money, he still does the tip run and all that because, you know, your beliefs from what you get taught as a kid, the hardest thing growing up to get rid of as an adult, or the hardest thing to change, whatever you believe as a kid usually carries on to your adulthood. From growing up and still now, whenever I go to mum and dad's house, my dad is always the one cleaning and washing up and doing the dishes and doing all that sort of thing. And I'm the same when we've been away then, when I'm at mine, when I'm at Emily's, as soon as I cook, if I make a meal, whilst I'm plating it up, I'm washing the pots and pans and putting them away as well. So as soon as I've eaten this meal, I come back and I have to wash that one plate. Whereas Emily's the total opposite. She'll come into a room, get a bagel, cut it in half, get jam out, slice it, butter, everything, and just she'll go and sit down, eat it, and everything. And I walk in the kitchen, I'm like, have you put any of this away? And she's like, no, I'm eating first. I'm like, do it whilst you're making the food. So I feel like from seeing my dad clean up and wash up all the time, I'm a bit of a control freak when it comes to washing up. I don't like anybody else washing up in my house. If I were in the motorhome, I were always doing it. And I feel like what Tyson Fury's got from him being a gypsy growing up, he's probably always had that work where he's always done the tip runs for his dad, or he's always swept the yard and stuff like that. And when you get older, no matter how much money you've got, it's still, even though sweeping up is a shit job, and I know he says in documentary, I'd rather be fighting 12 rounds than doing this, but I think it's built into him. I want to sweep this yard. I've got a bit of OCD. If I can sweep it all,
do you think it's a bit
clean.
Of pride that I don't want someone else to do it? Then maybe there.
I don't
Unlimited money.
Pride.
He could have anyone do the tit run.
I feel like
it costs
also
£100 max.
Yeah, but I think with it being Tyson Fury, I feel like all his people around him, he's not going to be cheeky enough to go, come and sweep me yard for £100, because they'll be like, fucking, what do you think? I'm your slave. But he also don't want people from outside coming into his base and sweeping his garden, because he never knows what people are like. Yeah. They're unpredictable. So he probably just thinks, you know what? For me to do this for half an hour, I know the job's done right. Nobody's going to come into my house and start trying to paparazzi me fucking top off shadow boxing in my house. So I'll just do it myself. And again, he's probably got that childhood belief that he should be doing that job.
Yeah. It was an interesting point as well there. So Big John Fury's on that, and it's showcasing sort of his lifestyle. And the point there that hit home with me, I shared a reel yesterday regarding Danny Christie and the training and how that is a requirement before anything else, so he doesn't fall back into old patterns. And they were mentioning there, and it made me think last night in terms of genetics, and they were mentioning, John said, I'm the exact same. My dad was the exact same. And I've always thought about that, and I sat long and hard about that yesterday, especially, never really talked about it at depth, but what happened to my dad, obviously mental health. If you're going to kill yourself, there's mental health problems there, and that's always been a fear of mine, because I'm an overthinker, put a lot of stress on myself, and all these things that can combine. And you know, you've seen it as a kid, and the programming comes through you all your life, and it's just built into you there. Like, fuck me, am I always going to struggle with mental health? The genetic element to it was very interesting for me, and Tyson still struggles with that now. Yeah. He's always training, he's always going on runs, he's always he has to keep that demon at bay.
I think it can be genetics.
Yeah.
But I also think that
It's a learned tendency from just sort of like when you're young and watching
Yeah,
it.
I think there's a difference because you lost your dad so young and you probably didn't realise that your dad was struggling. I'm sure he probably kept it from you. You won't have seen the struggles and no, because me growing up, from being like, however, from being born to 17, 18, 19, I didn't even realise what mental health or anxiety or depression really was. And I'd never experienced it and I still haven't really now. I've had a little bit of anxiety every now and then. I still get it if I'm about to do something that causes it. But I feel like because you probably didn't see it growing up, you're worrying thinking it's genetics and have I got
Last thing you want in your head is that you're going to have suicidal thoughts at certain points and fucking hell, is that going to be a demon that I've got to keep at bay?
Yeah, for sure. But I think what John Fury is saying is he probably saw his dad, how it's been different. He's grown up as an adult whilst Tyson's then growing up as an adult and they're seeing their dads do it, and so that's how that gets built into them.
And it could also be a taught lesson saying if you don't train, you're going to struggle.
Exactly,
like make sure you train, make sure you train, make sure you train.
You know, if he sees his dad like, I feel I'm going to go train and get rid of this stress, that's then what that training gets rid of this. So then when he's growing up, I feel a bit like this, I'm going to train. Yeah. It's just a belief from growing up.
Training does do that. Like for anyone out there, like all the successful people that I know, training is a key fundamental. I feel like we've lost. It's interesting with me and you know, when we talk about morning routines and bad habits versus good habits, which I totally believe is true. There's cause to me though, like training, like everyone's doing like cold, red light, the list can go on and on. You can almost get lost in that world then. 100%. But there's probably some core truths that are there, and exertion, like working out, you're working out that all that internal sort of stress tolerance, it's probably built into us that you've got to get rid of that in some form. Yeah. And as society's developed and progressed, we're lazier. So it's crazy to me how I think, whether I'm an overthinker or just, if it's genetic or not, it's just how I'm made up and think. And I do train to keep that at bay. What do these people feel like who don't train the full life? Like their baseline level of thinking, optimism, confidence, the way they see the world must all be mega affected by they're just sat in this anxiety-filled, compromised body, just eating all the bad foods, all this sort of stuff. It must just add up that.
To answer your question, the people who just sit at home and do fuck all must be absolutely depressed, because if I've just been away then for 6 days and I only trained 2 of them, and Emily's like, what are you looking forward to most when you go on like training? Going back to what you said then about from being 0 to 8, whatever your beliefs are there as a kid usually stick. These kids that are growing from 0 to 8 nowadays, who are watching the TikToks, not working so hard, they don't know what our granddads did back in the day. If you look at China and you look at Russia, you've seen what they're doing with their like 0 to 8-year-old kids.
In terms of, do you mean what they see on their devices and whatnot?
In terms of that, as terms of schooling, exactly. I watched a video where there's probably 3,000 or 4,000 pupils all on this massive court, all doing boxing.
Yeah, I've seen that.
The exact same technique at the exact same time. Nobody's out of line. It's like marching, and I know how hard marching was from when I was in Navy. And there's only 30 of you walking, and some dumb idiots TikToking down fucking parade, whereas these kids are throwing fucking 3 and 4 punch combos at the perfect time, making the noises at the exact same time, and they're drilling that into their kids. So going back into the society where we're talking about rainbow flags and people getting brought up soft and not having that fight in them, that's only the countries that we're allied with, USA.
There was from what you said there was an interesting, our last show, mate, I might have shown here it, where they were in South America somewhere, and they're asking him basic questions like, what does transgender mean? What does certain words that is only native to sort of Western world? They had no idea what it meant.
No, they don't. And they're protected from it. And that's why a lot of scientists, you know, when they're studying like human makeup and stuff like that, they spend a lot of time with tribes because they're the closest thing to how we as humans should really be living. Yeah. And mate, you know, like I used to always think it's like, oh, I'd love to go and visit a tribe and be like, oh, let me show you the real world. Like, come and sit. But fucking hell, they're living the real world. We're living in this fake, fucking lied to, believe what you get told by media, fucked up depression, and they're living the life over there. They're living longer than us. The difference between like South America, us, tribes, China, America, we're seeing all this rainbow LBGTQ fucking, you're not allowed to say fuck all wrong, Black Lives Matter sort of shit, because the media are feeding is it. It's not happening in China. It's not happening in Russia. They're churning out tough motherfuckers. Yeah. And China are probably doing the same. I know we don't fear China as much. I think it's because they're small in structure.
But what if they declared war?
Oh, if they declared war, fucking big time.
It's,
It's that- I think
everyone's going to
it's-
unite then and be like, right, we're the men.
Yeah, 100%. I know we watched the video yesterday. I'll talk about that for a little bit. The race between the USA, Russia, and China to see who's gonna conquer space.
Yeah. It were a little bit mind-blowing. For context, for people that are listening, it were an Aubrey Marcus post. We'll put the little link here. Yeah. What were your takeaways from that? Because a lot of that just goes straight over my head.
The Congress come forward when they heard rumours that we were getting, well, America were getting, biological bodies and spacecrafts kept from them as secret. And I watched a video of him step forward and say, you work for us, we don't work for you. You give us all this information, but everyone working within that sector has signed an NDA. So if they come forward to Congress and say, oh yeah, we have been doing this, they're going to get fucked up, so nobody comes forward. So that whistleblower, that David Grush, he actually got, right, go on, you can go tell the story, we'll let you have it. So he's been able to sit there and say, yeah, we found this spacecraft in 1950. We recovered a couple of dead bodies. Non-human bodies, which is that EBA that we talked about. Another interesting fact I got from it was when he said 1950 is when we recovered this craft, the technology and physics that we've discovered from 1950 to now compared to all the previous years has gone up.
You think they've learned from the craft or whatever's
100%.
happened?
They showed that clip of Joe Rogan talking to...
Bob Lazar,
that's the one. And he talks about when they must have obviously engineered a craft using whatever materials from this, and it floats up into air. And if you stand under it and look at it, you can't see the craft because it's defying physics, it's defying light, and it's knowledge that we'd have never been able to. People stood under it and still didn't understand what the fuck was happening. You know, when you said, "Oh, this news is coming out about aliens," but people are not reacting the same. Is it because we already know that? Is it because we're choosing not to believe it? Or we just fucking can't be arsed listening to government and media anymore. Yeah. You even said this yourself. You were like, I don't know whether this is just another cover-up for something else happening in the world, which it could damn well be. But after, is it Pippa, the girl who was George Bush's assistant, she's come out, a reliable source, and she said, it's not a stunt to try and get more funding for NASA, even though they have got £40 billion in 2024 lined up. It's not a stunt to cover it up, but what it actually is it's a silent Cold War between us, China and Russia, who are all racing, well, USA, not us, are all racing to get to space, because whoever gets to land on this moon again, control the satellites, takes control of the planet, because we're eating away at his world. We're grinding away like cobalt from Africa used to go into engines that we're making. So we're just slowly clawing away at his own place. Whoever gets to space first can put these satellites out that are going to be able to retract energy from the sun, bring it back and convert it into good, free, reliable energy for Earth.
Yeah, now you've said that. The interesting point there where they said mining in space, unlimited energy via the satellite that we're beaming it back down. Mm. The only part that I feel there is cost us so much money in energy, so much money in pharmaceuticals and all these different things that are billion-dollar entities.
Yeah.
Why would they want, because you have money involved, you know, like even if they're like a cure for cancer, fueling your car with hydrogen so it ran for free, your house should be able to run for free. Why are they, there must be science backing that can happen. This is what I just don't get. It's almost like the conspiracy theorist in me believes that even if someone came forward with that.
I'm going to go back to what led you on to that question, or that what you just said then. You know, you said, why would we want to launch to space to get this free renewable energy? Because there's so many businesses on Earth that are making so much money from charging us that. This is it's beyond all them guys. Fuck them guys. Whoever's controlling the SpaceX sort of stuff don't care about these energy people who are making money from oil and cobalt and all that shit. If they get to space, they own the fucking planet. And that's it. And that's why there's a bit of a rat race. What really should be happening there is we've discovered that we can get there, and if we get there, this is how much better a planet off.
Come together.
If they came together, they could literally make the world
a better place.
100%. But because of that fucking greedy and they want control and power, they're racing because they know whoever gets it is the man. And that's that. And they don't care about whoever's selling this oil or who's doing that or these rich Saudis. Whoever gets there first is winning. And that's why there's a secret war going on. And it's, let's say Russia get there first and they get all this, they just cut everyone's satellites, now you buy everything from us. We've got the best, whatever they're scraping from moon to give you all this fucking high profile fossil fuel that you need in. Or we've got these satellites that'll give you this, which is free, and they've got it, mate. And I think that's the secret behind why they're wanting so much funding for SpaceX. It's not because we're fighting against it. Because when you say there's a space war going on, you think, shit, they've sighted aliens. Are they coming for us?
Do you mean for NASA, not SpaceX? NASA.
It's for NASA, sorry, yeah. So when I first saw it on that documentary and they said a silent war, I was thinking, are they preparing to battle against aliens? Which is a fucking bad idea because apparently they're 500 billion years in front of us with technology, so they're just smokers. But it's not. It's leaders at will trying to take over it.
It's hard to... When I was younger, I probably used to get like Ben Kikane at the minute. He's so into understanding it, but I don't know. I think Danny Chris has mentioned it, and Russell Meek has mentioned it to me. To where we're at in his lives and the power we've got, we can only really control his bubble. It's nice to have an insight and understand what's going on, but will we ever truly grasp it fully?
No,
I don't think I'm smart enough.
You've got to be. It's not even smart enough. You've got to be around it.
Yeah.
It's like that Pippa girl who I was talking about. She sits there. She's done a 3-hour podcast where she goes in depth. I haven't watched the full podcast. She goes in depth about everything, which will probably be an interesting watch because that little short one we watched was good. She doesn't know that because she's smart. She is smart, but not because she's way smarter than us and she's got a better memory. And it's because she's around it every day. She's been doing it for 20 years. She knows it inside and out. So for us to just dabble in a little bit and watch TikToks and this 1 hour documentary, we're not going to learn it and understand it because we've also got another fucking life to live and look after. If you sacrificed everything and said, right, I'm going to fucking learn everything about space and why, you'd probably be able to learn it in a year or two. It's just the fact that they're about it constantly all day, every day.
Switching gears, let's talk a little bit about some fights coming up this weekend. I'm going to, on airplay mode this, we've got, I tell you who's fighting, who you like, Neil Magny's fighting Ian Gary.
Oh, shit.
Ian Gary, 12 unbeaten, fighting Neil Magny, 28-11.
I think Ian Gary is going to be a future world champion. He's doing everything right at the moment. He's just signed to Jake Paul's...
I saw that. Saw him come face-to-face, a bit of fun, but they're signed to Better
Sports, yeah. That's a good little partnership. Did you watch? I'm going to go back to Ian Gary, but did you watch Jake Paul and Impulsive's podcast or not?
Yeah.
Where they're going back and forth?
Yeah.
Are you buying any of this?
I think they're smart businessmen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
there is a bit of rivalry there because you've got two contrasting brothers here. You've got the Tates who would die for each other, and I'm not saying the Pauls wouldn't die for each other, but you've got a very different dynamic. Maybe you've got two very competitive brothers there versus two brothers who are just loyal to the core no matter what. It's everything's shared and like they say, same bank accounts. Maybe the Pauls are a little bit more competitive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. And remember, the two at best entertainers on planet. So for them to have a narrative, like our podcast is completely different to theirs. We're just trying to speak at length and dissect topics. That's what interests me. Maybe in time it'll become more entertaining. We'll push that side of the business almost, but that's the Impulsive is Americanized entertainment. Their audience is probably a little bit younger. They followed Logan and like from Disney to YouTube all the way through. Their content's been completely different to anything we've ever put out, and their lives have been completely different. But to answer your question there, do I feel it was scripted? That I feel they're always thinking about clicks, traffic, and engagement. That's their bread and butter.
Yeah, we've said this before. I'd love to just speak to or be behind the scenes for one of either like Impulsive, Nelt Boys, Raw Talk, Stephen Bartlett's podcast. I'd love to just be behind the scenes and see how much work actually goes into their podcast compared to, I'm not saying we don't put work in because we do, but I'd like to see if they pause in between and somebody goes, all right, now ask about this topic. And then
I think that definitely happens.
Do you think?
Yeah.
It'd be nice to just see to what
because
sort
then
of
if
extent...
it paused and we went into a topic that we'd forgot, then you could go back into it. Right, boys, now do the UFC segment.
Yeah.
Right, now talk about the merch. Now talk about, right, let's go back to that space race.
Yeah. But it'd just be nice to know because I feel like stuff like that's a bit of an inside thing to know. I don't feel like you could search that or YouTube. I don't know if anyone's got a YouTube channel and say, what happens behind the scenes of my podcast? See how it really happens compared to the polished products that you ever see.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be good to sit down with one of them. Seeing as we're on the Logan Paul topic.
You're going to have to bring that up. I told you.
Yeah.
Dilly and Dennis.
I'll let you tell the story because you followed it.
I want to be careful because me and you fall out regarding degeneracy and fucking talking about that. But that was unreal what he was doing. So for context there, Logan Paul's fiance, very good looking human. He's obviously done his research on her background and acquaintances in the past. And he's just been on an absolute rampage, mate, sharing videos. But the big but there is, I've known Jake Paul comment heavily on Conor McGregor's wife, partner. So I don't know. There were no comeback there for Logan. His comebacks were, what do you come back with? Like, unless he's just gonna fucking try and flatline him.
He's got to be plotting and Logan Paul and his team.
Yeah, but what can you feasibly come back with there?
You can't. You've got to do some deep digging.
I watched a little bit this morning because I've been invested in this weird little fucking dilemma. I watched them on the Full Send podcast, and like even what's he called? What's the main boy called of Nelk? Kyle was saying, "Are you going to show up to the fight?" I don't know too much about his background. I know he's a world champion jiu-jitsu fighter. He's trained with Conor McGregor. He's done a little bit with Bellator, I believe, in MMA. He's not fought in 4 years. He's probably always stayed fairly active. I saw a little bit of him. He didn't give anything away. I saw him sparring or technical sparring with, what's the crazy Brazilian called who Adesanya beat? Pereira.
Oh, shit.
So I've seen like little glimpses of that. So why would he go and move around with him if he didn't have something to give? Unless they just want to learn the jiu-jitsu side of the game, which he's one of the best at doing that. But he's had a habit of pulling out of fights. I don't know what for. Listen, the fight game's hard, injuries, anything can sort of happen in your fight camp. He has to going on that rampage unless he's just solely doing it for clicks and get attention and get a bit out and don't have to fight. He has to make that fight happen.
I think he's making the fight.
Yeah,
I think he's going to make the fight. He's been Conor seems to be backing him heavily as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's been doing a bit of work with Conor. If he's sparring with Alex Pereira, mate, and he's putting the work in and he's trolling him like that, he has got to turn up on the day.
Yeah. And what is it, October 14th, same night as your 14th, fight?
Yeah, so I was looking at the start time. So the show that I'm fighting on starts the doors open at 2:00 basically. The fights start at 3:00. So I'm going to speak to the owner and say, do you want to get me on early doors? Because if we can get tickets to go to that, which is in Manchester, it's only a 40-minute drive from there to there. I think we could just fly it. And I think it'll probably go off at that event. I think there's going to be absolutely everybody there.
Is Salt Pappy fighting?
I'm not 100%, but I think he's been training and putting posts on, so I think he might actually have a fight. I'm taking my gum shield, me.
Oh, yeah.
Fight on the night and just turn up any dropouts, boys.
Yeah.
But that'll be funny. I think we'll be able to get tickets for that.
How does that one fare then? Your fight experience, the KSI and Tommy Fury fight. Surely Tommy Fury beats him.
You'd like to think that because Tommy Fury beats Jake Paul, and I personally think that Jake Paul's better than KSI, especially when it comes to technicality of it. I just think KSI is very athletic and explosive. And if he comes out with a similar style, that MVP style again, and a bit Taekwondo style, and he just in and out, fitter than Tommy, which he probably will be.
Yeah.
Probably stronger because he's...
Who was KSI for who's given it back?
Recently, mate, there's not really been anybody. I mean, he had a decent fight with Logan Paul, but that was at the start of their crossover boxing journey. So they're probably levels.
Like, how do you
above
feel
that now.
like someone like KSI fares with like a Salt Pappy?
He'll smoke Salt Pappy.
You think he beats Salt Pappy?
The thing about Salt Pappy is he's got a good background. He's not athletic. He'll still be fit. He'll still be powerful, and he's got good technique, whereas KSI will be at it right now. He's probably on PEDs. He's probably fucking training 3 times a day. Every supplement, the best diet, the best team. You see like Ellen...
Is the drug testing in this? Because they're not called... Jake Paul pulled up, didn't he, saying they're not professional fights.
Yeah, they're exhibitions.
They're exhibitions under certain a rule set or a certain what's it called, like a regulator.
Yeah.
So it can't be classed. They're still fighting. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going out there and tip tapping. They're going out there to try and win it.
Yeah.
But do you think there's PEDs involved?
100%.
Yeah. In all of that.
100%, I think.
So even like people like Jake Paul, it seems Logan Paul's rig at the minute.
Bro, he's...
And you can always play. And listen, no denying he's very athletic. But I think people use that athletic card sometimes to...
Genetics.
Yeah, to say it's genetics when...
Yeah.
I don't know.
But then you look at his dad, Greg, and he's in good shape for his age. He's probably well looked after, and he probably don't have to worry about working, and he's just eating and doing what he wants now. So he's in decent shape, but he's not a genetic freak like Logan is.
It's always to spin off, I'm just this Ohio boy, country boy who's lifted all that. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, that probably has helped him.
Yeah.
And he probably did get to a certain size naturally. But if you look at him on Disney, he's always been quite well built. He's in better shape than what I'm in now at probably like 17, 18 years old. But I think when he's wrestling on WWE and doing fucking backflips off top rope and smashing each other to bits, he's got to be on something that's strengthening you up, that's densening your bones and strengthening your ligaments.
Like I saw an old video with KSI and Conor McGregor when they were playing the UFC game. but the first time they'd ever been sat down close like this was playing the game together. And KSI looked nothing like he does now.
No.
And listen, you train every day for. If me and you said to each other now, right, forget all work. We've got an unlimited amount of money. We train twice a day. We eat as clean as we want. We've got a chef, this, that, and the other. In a year, you could be a completely different animal. So I don't deny that, but the skeptic in me is how they're taking stuff and whatnot. I don't know.
Well, it's just that extra inch, mate. If KSI wants to beat Tommy Fury on the day, they're both training hard. They've both got all the money and time they need. They've both got mint teams, nutrition, training, recovery, everything to a T. What else is there to give you that competitive edge? It's some sort of testosterone or growth hormone,
or even something in their circle that we don't even unaware of.
Yeah.
Something that gives you that competitive edge. Yeah. Everyone's seeking for that. When there's money, fame, notoriety, there's so much on your brand to lose. I don't know how much it affects their brand if they lose, because they're just, it's just...
A lot.
Yeah, but you feel like Jake Paul's... I don't think... For the respect people have for Jake Paul now, I don't really feel...
That the Tommy loss affected him?
No, and I even think if he would have lost to Nate Diaz, would that have affected his brand too much? I don't know. Because I feel like he could always... Jake, to me, seems to be on a positive trajectory to want to become a professional boxer, and I believe he wants to do that.
Yeah, me too.
But even if, like, he's talking about this Canelo, and...
I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Have
you seen who Canelo's fighting now, that Charlo?
No.
The press conference was yesterday. He's always ripped up his... I put the picture up, he's always ready as Canelo.
Didn't Canelo get done for some sort of PEDs, though?
Come on, man. He's like... have you seen how small he was when he started?
Yeah. Goes back to it, doesn't it? But
I think he again, they always use this crazy excuse. It's like tainted meat. Yeah. Tyson Fury's the same thing. Oh yeah, it's just
it's Bennett's Butchers.
Bennett's Butchers fucking fillet. You know what I mean? There's something wrong with it.
When Jake Paul says, because Logan pulls him up and says, "What do you think you beat Canelo?" And he's like, "I think I would knock him out." And he's like, "Come on, dude, really?" And he's like, "All right, maybe not now, but in 3 years' time, if I keep how I'm going, I feel like I'll be fighting."
And he meets him then at a perfect zone where Canelo. Even he probably agrees, and he said his last two outings weren't his best showing.
Yeah.
So you could either say, right, he's gone up through these weight categories, he's fighting bigger people, or is he on the top? Has he reached the sort of the limit of his career and is on the downtrend now?
Yeah,
he's been fighting for a long time.
Yeah. He's getting old, probably less interested because he's got more money. Jake Paul's obviously got a lot of money, but he's staying hungry. But going back to the loss thing, I think if he would have lost against Nate Diaz, it would have affected him. Probably not. He'd have still been doing the same shit. He'd probably still got good fights. But the reason that you watch Jake Paul, as bad as it sounds, is to see if he gets beat. That's what everyone's on at the moment. When he got beat by Tommy Fury, everybody wanted that.
It was very similar to sort of the Mayweather era.
Yeah.
People tuned in to, I think they want to see him get beat.
Yeah, 100%. KSI, I think if KSI gets beat by Tommy Fury now, he just makes crossover boxers look shit. Because Tommy's not the best pro boxer, is he? He's not fought anyone with a name. He's fought journeymen up to now. If you go on and beat two crossover boxers, I just think it's like, Tommy's not that good and he's just beat them too, so fuck them guys. It's going to be like that. But then again, if KSI beats Tommy Fury, he's then going to go, I'm better than Jake Paul because you lost and I beat him. And this fight's not as important anymore because I beat the guy who beat you. And then Logan Paul wants a piece of that pie as well. So Logan's never going to fight KSI again. Does Jake deserve to fight KSI if he beats Tommy? It does all that. So,
do you follow UFC as much anymore? 'Cause I'm really invested into that build-up fight. I'm a fan of Sean O'Malley. I'm a bigger fan of his coach Tim.
Yeah.
I really like Red Hawk.
Yeah.
How do you see that fight going? Have you been watching much of the build-up? I'm gonna get the card here so I can have a little look.
Yeah, I've not watched any of the build-up because obviously I've been away, and I would really like Sugar Sean. I'm a big fan of him, although I'm not massively tuned in at the moment with the breakdowns of the upcoming fight. I just like everything about him. His social media presence, his style when he does podcasts, when he does vlogs. I like the fact that he's got the open relationship going on. I think that's cool as fuck. It shows that he's quite a powerful man. Were you
trying to plant some subtle seeds in the RV? Tell the truth.
I didn't plant the seed. I tested the water.
I know you.
I'll tell you what, Ronnie stands for as well.
I feel you play psychological warfare, and I think you're playing chess with many playing checkers. So, were you planting this? Come on, what?
So,
what's your break it down for people? Because I've learned this from you that we want to break subjects down instead of just talking about it. So, contextually, the book that I've read is by Dr. Chris Ryan. There's a few. Aubrey being the main person who Aubrey Marcus was the first person who I ever knew was in an open relationship.
Really?
Yeah, he's stopped that now. He's married. Kyle Kingsbury, ex-UFC. He was affiliated heavily with Aubrey Marcus. He did something that there's no way I could do. So Kyle Kingsbury did it, and it was that open, his relationship. His wife is beautiful, by the way. She called Natasha Kingsbury. She was a UFC ring girl, the blonde ring girl, and they met obviously through that, fell in love, did the whole romance, had a couple of kids. Being around Aubrey, you probably then gravitate towards, what is this open relationship? What's the benefits? What's the pros? What's the cons? She had another boyfriend and had a child. And I'm sure he raises the kid like it's one of his, which all respect to. But what a different dynamic that is in traditional society. That
Wait, she
fell pregnant
while she was in a relationship with him.
Yeah, but she
had a boyfriend with someone else.
Yeah,
and it was fine.
And the child was the other gent's.
Oh shit! But was he open to? Yeah, you can. Have
That were absolutely.
That's insane.
Yeah, because that's funny that you mentioned that, because when you deem an open relationship, I'm going to surmise you deem it as you've got a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and the man can go do what he wants, but the female can't. Is that what you're surmising there?
Ideally, the only way I would ever I'm not that asked about an open relationship. It's not for me. I'm not fucking. If anything, that's a distraction for me, because then I'd be focusing too much on these different women and getting too involved in that, and it distract me for what I wanted to do. I much prefer a traditional relationship, but if it was going to go down that route, I was doing that, and my partner wasn't. But I did mention it to Emily in the RV.
Just try and break this down for me correctly.
I can't remember what got us on the topic of conversation.
I wish you'd have read the book so you would have understood the
yeah, I need to understand the
people
logics.
get really triggered by this, but there is sort of like science / theory behind the madness. Yeah. I don't think I could do it though, to be fair. I joke about it all the time. I don't think I could do it.
100% couldn't do it, because no matter what she says, she's not going to let me do it unless she got to do it. And if she's into that, she might be like, if it means me being able to do it, then sure, you could do it. But then that'd offend me in a way. But because she's not wanting to do that, she's like, well, why would you want to do that? But also what you've got to remember is, when I first started seeing Emily, I was doing the collabs. So in a way, I was kind of doing that, even though it wasn't an open relationship as me going and enjoying myself.
It was still an understanding that I was going to shag other birds.
Exactly. And then her answer to me when I said it to her in the RV was, you did this before and I told you it didn't work. And I'm like, when? And she's like, when you're doing collabs, like, that's not for me. And I'm like, yeah, but an open relationship's different. She's like, Ellis, no.
It's a no-go.
And I was like, fair enough. And
no, so be careful how you answer this, right? And just try and zoom out or answer the question of someone else and maybe not you, so you don't get in trouble. Yeah. I don't know if your last listens to these.
Shouldn't.
Some of the basic understanding would be that even if you're head over heels in love with your missus, you want to protect her, do everything for her, give her a good life, raise kids together, all the stuff that we look at, which means a good relationship. There's still part of you sometimes that will be attracted to other women.
For sure.
Right? So I feel all men, if they're honest with themselves, will agree that there's times where you're attracted to other people. So the understanding that what I took from the book, even though there's way more complexities to it, but I'm not smart enough to understand it, is that if you truly love someone, who are you? That if they're feeling like that and they want to explore that, who are you to say, don't explore that, when it would be usually a positive experience for the partner?
But also it's a negative experience for you.
No, but what it brings up then, if you think about it in depth, it's bringing up emotions that's on you, which would be jealousy, this, that, and the other, where how that Ryan breaks it down in the books, like when you go back to his first point where you're talking about all these tribes, I guarantee they don't have monogamous relationships in that. I bet there's an alpha who's fucking doing some damage, like.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's an hard concept to talk about, Nick, because I don't fully enough know about it. But the fact of the matter is that we all have those urges, and we all have those tendencies to have a little glance, have a little look, and there'll be moments where there could be an attraction, and you don't explore it from a gentleman's handshake with your missus that, well, we don't cheat on each other. Because it's weird, isn't it? I always think about this. Have you ever sat down and mapped out your relationship with your missus where you say, right, these are the rules of engagement. You never do it. It's unwritten rules that you sort of taught from being a young kid, that if your boyfriend, girlfriend, well, that's all it. Like, that's it now. So you don't look at other people, you don't talk to other people, you don't text them, definitely don't have sexual experience with them. But it's all unwritten, isn't it, that?
It is. And again, that goes back to what we talked about how you brought up from a kid. If you got brought up as a kid and your parents or your parents' friends or older people you see them fucking swinging and putting the car keys in a bowl and that, and it seems normal to you, and you see different partners walking, hey, I'm sure this thing is like, if you get brought up seeing that,
it's normal.
I guarantee you, when you get to a certain age that you're having sex in a relationship, you think that's normal.
All right.
100%. Which is why I think these people who are into it, it's not just there in your head. I think you've got to either see it, hear it, or experience it. And because we've not done either of that, it's a bit alien to us.
It's crazy to watch. So, like, we go back to Sugar Sean and Tim. I'm big fans of them. They're both. It's mad that they don't even hide it. So when they go on these conquests, like fight weeks, they don't take the women out with them, and they're just, it's like almost straight on Tinder.
Yeah,
it's like, it's not even, when I brought up there where if the moment arose and it was just a general experience with another girl and you thought they're just fucking.
It's funny on his vlogs when he's like, oh, this girl wants to fuck, and he just like shows a profile.
Don't care. It's gone to another level, that. But we had the conversation in the last bank there because the Maddox won't open. That what were we saying?
We were saying that if the woman's fully dependent on you,
then that's a different dynamic, because if it's a 50-50 relationship, then it's a 50-50 say that there has to be an agreement. But I feel with them, probably the lifestyle that Sean especially is given to his partner Danny, and they're married now and have kids. It must be a different dynamic, because I've even, like, on some of the podcasts, I think Danny's been on with them where they do a lot of threesome stuff with different girls, and they try and spice up the sex life, because everyone's sex life, I don't care what anybody says,
it gets mundane.
It fucking does, brother. So, and it's hard to say that to camera in case the missus is listening, but everybody knows it's true. You can keep up that fucking, like, when you first started seeing each other, mate, they can't even fucking get changed without you being on top of it. They're in the shower, you're following them into the shower. It's like, that's the
I think.
Do you feel the same?
If there's any chance that something's going to happen, I think it'd be between me and Emily. It'd be a threesome with another girl, because Emily's.
And what's the percentage chances of that being able to manifest?
Right now, probably like 20%.
And would it have to be a stranger or a friend?
I think Emily would rather it be a friend.
Would it?
And I'm not gonna throw Emily's dirty laundry out here or not. But when, like, in her younger days, I think she not dabbled in it, but what kids are like as kids, they've done
just exploring.
She's told me that, so I know there's that tendency there, and I always have a little joke.
Does it? Sorry to interrupt. Does it turn you on or make you retract? Your balls retract when she's reciting past sexual experiences, or do you enjoy it?
Nah, I don't enjoy it.
Retraction.
Yeah, pretty much. not like in a jealousy wise, but when she tells me, like, oh, this person, or tells me, like,
so she puts a face to it as well.
But I already know some of the people from being around there. She's like, oh yeah, this happened when we were doing this or whatever. And so I already know this. But then I think if anything it would ever happen between us, it'd be like her, like, going, because she might have I don't know, she might like girls or whatever. I think if she was like, oh, she's nice, isn't she, over there? And I'm like, yeah, get her involved. And she'd be like, do you want it? If we'd had a drink, she'd be like, oh, do you want it? Then I think that might actually manifest.
All right.
But I sometimes have jokes with her, and I'm like, if someone comes on, tell him, like, should we have a threesome? She's like, yeah, if we get another lad involved. If it's a lad, like, that's the thing. I'm like, fuck that. And she's like, well, why would I do it? It's one of them. I would never have a threesome with my girlfriend and another guy.
You're such an overthinker, you as well, where, let's just say, fast forward 5 years, there's a threesome teed up. It's two girls and you. Like, how do you even begin to approach that? Like, how are you divvying out the percentage of work, and how does that manifest? Like, what does that look like? I feel you'd really. I definitely know you thought about it. I don't know. You've probably done it in your life.
I have.
Have you?
A couple of times.
But were it more just fun, that not anyone who you were in love with?
Oh yeah, 100% fun. One of the times.
Yeah, but if you're in love with someone, you're going to be thinking, what's that girl thinking?
Yeah. Let me go back to it. If it were me and Emily, who I love, if it were me and her and another girl, I wouldn't be thinking, why is she giving that other girl more attention than me?
Oh no, I'm not even. That wouldn't even enter my head.
What do you mean by jealousy?
That wouldn't even enter my head if they were necking on. That I'd be fucking buzzed off that.
Right.
I'm talking about the fucking, what's the Corey up to?
Oh, the Corey's up to whatever it wants in them situations.
Yeah, but who do you start? You know what I'm saying?
You've got to
that's more what you're thinking
Yeah,
about. I won't be thinking, well, will you get jealous if they were just necking on and stuff?
Would I get what?
Jealous if the girls were just doing their own thing for a while?
No, but if I were having a threesome with my bird and a guy and started kissing another guy,
Oh,
100%.
see, I wouldn't ever entertain that though.
No, me neither. But if so, you're thinking about how it played out. I'll tell you how it played out when I were in a beef. I'll tell you how this played out, and it played out how I wanted it to. So I'm in an hotel, chilling out, and there's these girls Snapchatting me who I'd just been speaking to from social media or whatever, and she's sending me a photo. Oh, I'm in Ocean Beach. Like, I'll come and see you later on. So I'm there being a bit of a player. Like, yeah, sound. See you later. Then I'm getting this other message off this other girl saying, oh yeah, I'm in a beefer today. Well, I'll come and see you later, and sending me videos on Ocean Beach. I'm like, fucking a bit risky with them both being at Ocean Beach, but I'm going to play my cards right with both, and one of them might turn up, one of them might not. If they both turn up, I'll just have to choose. A couple of minutes later, both of them are like, hey, like, see you soon. I'm like, fuck, how have they met? But then it turns out they were actually on holiday together, Snapchatting me, both planning on coming and seeing me. So I'm like, oh, nice one. So I tell them my room number. They come up. I'd been out all night before, so I was rough as toast anyway. So I've never met these girls before. Both decent looking girls. They come in and I'm laid on my bed and just got some music on, and I'm like, give me a massage then. So they're both massaging my legs. And then Threesome comes down to it. I can't remember how it started off.
Why the massage of the legs?
Because it's just like I'm laid down in
just
pants, rather than the awkwardness of me sitting up and
all right.
I'm just like, but both of you massage. Plus, I can just lay there like I'm fucking Andrew Tate there and just do whatever.
Top G.
Yeah,
Top
exactly, top E. So then, usually I would say, go on then, you do something with each other because that takes the awkwardness out of it. But these girls were cousins, so they wouldn't do anything with each other. So I was just doing bits and bobs with whoever I could. But because I'd been out and on it all night, I struggled to finish. So this went on for like 2 hours. Right, girls, I'm calling it. I'm too tired. It's not working. Nice to meet you both. See you later. We'll keep in touch. They were only there for a week. So a couple of days later, I got a message off them again. Oh, it says last night. Do you want to come out with us both? So I'm like, yeah, whatever. So they were around the bay, which is a bit quiet. There's like shisha bars. And you know them bars where there's beds outside that you can chill on rather than sofas or
seats? A bit more relaxed vibe.
Yeah. So I met these two girls at the hotel. Walked down, linked down with both of them, walk into the bar, but everyone's like looking around like,
is he gay?
Is he gay or is he a straight up pimp? And obviously in this situation, I was just a pimp.
That's mint, that.
So I'm laid down on this bed with them both, just drinking, necking them both, having a laugh with them both, touching them both. What? This Scouse family come round and get on bed next to us, and I see them like double checking, like, what the fuck's going on here? We carried on, and this kid's like looking over at us, and then this girl like nudges and goes, what's going on with you three? So we all just went, oh, we're in a three-way relationship. That's just how it is. And they were proper interested in it. So we played that card for a little bit and we're having a bit of a laugh. Then we went back to their hotel. I snuck in and the receptionist guy clocked me, but we walked into the room fast. He starts banging on the door. So them two jump on bed. I lay down in the little hallway where he'd see me. So he's like, if you don't open up, I'm coming in. So I'm just there faking sleep. He walks in. I don't move a muscle. He obviously sees me asleep and thinks, no, he's not up to much. I'll just leave him to it. So then he goes. Then we get bang at it. And I can't remember the full down of it, but I know it ended in a double facial from me.
All right.
So it was quite successful. and then that were it. Really, it were an enjoyable time. We all went to separate ways. Got each other on social media, and then I seen that one of the girls a couple of weeks after got engaged to by a boyfriend who's in the military.
Fuck me.
That's
what we're up against,
That's what we're up against, mate. And I felt a little bit bad, like maybe I should tell him, but then I'm just like,
no, rules of engagement there is just denied.
No, but I always think if it happened to me, I'd respect getting told by the guy.
Would you?
But the guy probably wouldn't believe the girl anyway over me, so it's a losing battle in it. So I've just left them to it. I think they're still happy.
Yeah, but how do you even approach that to boy? Just an heads up, mate.
Bro, just letting you know your missus are in a beef with so and so. That I had 2 threesomes. I've got footage to prove it. Whatever you want, and they've probably got it on their phone as well. I ain't got it anymore, just for context, but I had it at the time.
This is what I'm saying when you come back to that they've clearly fancied you there and they've that instinct to want to explore it, they've chose to explore it. Whereas now that guy will probably never know that.
Never.
But if you're in an open relationship...
In an open relationship, do they know that you've done it?
I think you're open in terms of... Because you're open sexually, that if they've wanted to do that threesome there, which they clearly have if they've come back twice, then... You should be open enough to explain to the fella, listen, this is what happened. But people aren't open either, so they'll go and explore these urges or explore these tendencies and keep it gospel.
sad way to think about it, but then it does make you think like maybe it is the right way to, if you want to.
Because they
explore
wanted to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't. When people get caught cheating, they can say it's for an indefinite amount of things, and a lot of people cheat because they're not happy. Fully agreed with that. But there's also a lot of people who are probably more highly sexed than me, male and females included, who don't explore it because they're just tied into a relationship. So those tendencies and feelings and emotions will always be there, but they never fully go out and explore them.
Is there any like negative side effects to getting them urges? Because naturally, you just said then naturally it's built into us to have this monogamy relationship.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I don't know if it's built into us. The theory of
I
the
feel
book
like
is
it
that it's
probably
not.
is.
Do you think?
I feel like it probably is.
Well, you feel that you're just meant to stay with the same girl for 40
sorry.
years, live together,
No, sorry.
and that's all
I think the opposite to that.
All
Sorry.
right. No, monogamy is when you just
When you are loyal.
you'll have one sexual partner.
Right. Okay.
So if you're monogamous, I believe, if I'm getting the wording right, that's it.
You're a loyal.
Yeah, and I think you can go down different words like polyamorous, where
That's
it's like
the
you've
one,
got multiple partners
Yeah.
and whatnot.
So let's say if you're not monogamous and you believe from our DNA that you should, because you see chimps fucking shag everyone, all the men shag all the women, and all the women do the same, usually alpha males, and it's not frowned upon. They don't fight, nothing. If you've got that in you that you feel like, oh, I should be exploring that and I should be doing that, is there a negative side effect apart from the fact that you probably end up cheating?
Well, the negative side effects there is that you're going to upset that person. So you're raising negative thoughts in their mind. Am I good enough? Jealousy, all these tendencies and emotions that we know are there. And that's pretty much about it, really, isn't it? Most people just lie about it, though. That's there's a lot of people cheat. I'm going to surmise a lot of people cheat. It's just not talked about. So then I've cheated in the past, and you have to live with that.
Yeah.
And it will eat away you a little bit.
It does.
So you know what you've done. So when you can get to a certain level of thinking, if that urge is still in you to want to do that and explore that, then if you've got enough about you, you should be able to somewhat vocalize it to someone who should be your best friend and someone you love.
Yeah.
It's a tough subject, especially in sort of English culture. I don't know anyone who's in an open deal.
I think I know a few swingers, older generations. There were a kid in my
Well, there's
school.
rolling down to Fairbairns. It used to be fucking patched, didn't it?
What, for all the
Yeah,
swingers? I'm not sure.
there were Ponty Park were a little bit of that I heard of through the grapevine, but more it were Fairbairns. There's a little as you come into the Ings from Castleford side, you know, just before you come to the Panel Crossroads there, as you come through the old Walton Buck fishing pond there and come round, there's a little just tucked in car park there. That's wild. I won't want to do that.
If I'm going to do it, I'd want it to be in like a nice environment.
And
like
you also
fucking-
want to know who it is.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I don't want just fucking someone off a state just strolling in, 50-year-old, fucking sucking lang out at window. Do you know what I mean?
Fuck that. I'm going to tell you who were rumoured to be, whose parents were rumoured in school. I'm going to bleep it out.
Yeah.
Mum and dad.
Oh,
Auntie and uncle
yeah.
were apparently swingers.
Well, they're
Yeah.
fucking intense, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, to be fair, he had quite a young dad, though, didn't he? If I remember rightly. If I'm trying to remember his dad there, we'll bleep all this out. But
He did. He did.
It probably adds to sex life.
I tell you what.
My sex life is like, we don't go too in depth, but it's like not plain now, and it's fucking there when it needs to be there. But I'm not mad adventurous. I want even basic stuff like, do you watch porn or dress up or do stuff like that?
We watched porn once about 4 or 5 months ago.
What porn were you watching?
This is the thing. This is the thing.
Because then it's where you can't be honest. Like, you know,
Yeah,
I've
no.
never gone in depth and asked you what are your fantasies when you watch porn. Because
Yeah.
porn is an outlet. And we can tie this into some OnlyFans conversation, that porn is an outlet when you're a kid, if you're jerking off a lot, wanking off a lot, whatever you want to call it, that you've got unlimited variables to what you want to watch. You can watch anything you can think of.
Yeah.
But I bet you've never sat and talked to your missus. If you've got a seedy tendency, which I'm unaware of, but you know you like a certain little fucking thing that you watch, which is a little bit, not just watching amateur porn or watching someone on phone or whatever it might be, would you ever tell your missus? So if you like watching a black man just pagger into women, or you like fatties, or you liked, like when Zach talked about anime, or there were like certain kinks that got you going.
Me and Emily have had this conversation.
Yeah.
But I feel like girls can't be honest. I'll tell you now what girls
What
are
do you think?
into.
What do you think girls like? Lesbian?
No. I think girls are into like gangbang stuff, watching gangbang stuff, because it's the most wildest fantasy that usually 80% of girls are not going to ever do, because it's against the morals. It's frowned upon. It's dangerous, depending on...
And if it comes out, people look bad on it. And all,
Yeah,
I think,
100%. And they'll probably just think I'm never going to get a boyfriend if this comes out. But it's like an out there thing that people would want, because they're just getting shagged by loads of people. It's like, it's different from men. But if you got locked in a room with 50 women, you'd be fucking in your element, 100%. But you can't research that because it'd be boring to watch on porn. But there's like, I feel like a lot of people choose the fetishes from, again, whatever they brought up seeing, like anime porn. They must have just been fucking wanking over Cartoon Network or something when they were younger.
Yeah, weird, eh?
But I feel like my thing, again, it's like things that don't happen often. It's like threesomes with two girls. But would I want to tell Emily that? I would do. I wouldn't want to. But if I say, what do you watch on porn? And she goes, oh, I watch fucking...
Yeah, but maybe if you bring that up, that could be something that could potentially be explored in this future endeavour.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I didn't really get off on it because this was the awkward part about it. She actually said, should we put porn on? So I'm like, crack on. You can search. Like, you know, if I'm not going to put what I want on because then she'd be like, whoa, you like that? You like fucking black women or whatever. Like, I'm like, yeah, then you do it. And then she's like, what shall I put on? I'm like, I don't know. What do you like putting on? She's like, I just like amateur or something. I'm like, do you?
Yeah,
Just
amateur's
like amateur?
easy answer, isn't it? What,
Yeah.
just for someone on iPhone?
Yeah. So then I was just like, then we'd watched it for a bit. I think we'd done a bit. It was mainly the thing that was good were like the noise in the background of it.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like that was like the best thing. Because if you're there watching it shagging, it's a bit weird, especially if you're both just watching TV looking like that. It's a bit weird. So like the noise helped a bit. And then I were a bit cheeky at end. I was like, you suck me off then. And I just put like a video of a girl sucking a guy from just kind of watching that. But
another interesting point from that, like you could go down that sort of degeneracy route, open relationship, watching porn together. But I've never got into it. But like I've got books at home regarding like tantric sex, holding the orgasm, I've always had that want to understand that a little bit. Dr. Huberman was on Schultz's podcast, Flagrant, and he was trying to say, you never do this, man. Any man out there who does this is fucking hats off to you. Like, fucking take me off that. Once you get to the point of wanting to blow your load, which is the mission, really, isn't it? There's a lot of, you don't want to blow the load too early, but then you also don't want to have that fear of that I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Where he's saying there, you can hold it in by certain methods or tantric methods or whatever it might be. I ain't got that willpower. That when I'm ready to fucking go, that's like, yes, mission accomplished, isn't it?
It's not even that.
Imagine being able to hold, like, but I don't know how good that feeling can be that if you don't release it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you learn to do that correctly, maybe it is and you're not letting go of all that is it chi or whatever they say you're letting go of or whatever your energy is.
You know what I sometimes find, especially when it comes to like OnlyFans work, if I'm trying to like, I'm going to be vulgar and probably bleep it out because we don't want this sort of stuff on channel, but if I'm like trying to do a big finish, let's say, so I'll try and get there and then slowly back off and that. Sometimes if I get there and then back off again, my balls or my brain think that I've finished.
Yeah.
And then it all just drops and I'm like, fuck, I didn't actually finish then and I'm not going to be able to carry on. It's because it's like, I feel like I have finished.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I were doing that in sex and get to a point and then stopping, it's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
But then if you held it and got to that point 5 times and slowed it down and then the 6th time would probably feel way better than the first one would have done. But with me, like you just said, then it's a mission to get there. When I get there, mate, I'm fucking mission accomplished, and that's me.
What
done.
did Johnny Midge used to call it? Vinegar stroke.
Yeah,
I used to fucking think that was.
and I take too long anyway.
Yeah,
really. It's been a known thing in this relationship. That's like, come on.
Is that been a tendency forever and a day, or just seems to be now?
No, it's been like that
I wonder, wherever we were talking about you yesterday a little bit, because just trying to grasp. Because the OnlyFans thing does interest me more because you're my mate and a brother now. Do you think it does affect you if you were to really try and sit on it? I know you can say because you're a strong-minded person that you can just put it to one side. It's just business. I can really like almost package it away. I go about my day. It's just how I make a living. Does it affect you though?
It's a good question because I thought about it recently, and I know I said to you probably a couple of weeks ago that
I think you're just always, because you're an alpha male, you just always, no, it doesn't.
So I said to you a couple of weeks ago, I'm good at switching off. When I were a site manager, as soon as I leave that site, I lock that door. I don't think about that again until I get there again at 7 o'clock in the morning. I focus on something else. Same with podcast. If I've filmed this podcast and I don't need to edit it or whatever, I can go home and not have to worry about it or do whatever. With OnlyFans, I can take content, message guys back comfortably and know that I'm making money from it and not like think, I feel grim doing this. Like, I did feel like that when I first started it. Now I've sort of learned to push it out. And like when I've been away there for a week, I've not thought about it once.
Do you think that's just because you've got numb to it though?
Pretty much, yeah. But then there were a time, either yesterday or the day before, and Emily mentioned something, and it's not as if it's happening because I don't know what's going on in my life right now or where I want to be, but she was like, do you ever think that we'll like live together, whether it be over your way, halfway, my end or whatever? And I was thinking, if I did move over to Newton, which is like an hour and 15, and I was still able to come back and do podcasts comfortably and do everything else, I wouldn't want to. Or if I became a father, I wouldn't want to be doing what I'm doing now, which is why I'm trying to do the agency, find other ways of making money, because I don't want to do it for so long. And then I thought about, because I've always said, like you just said, then I've always said, well, what if your kids find out? And I'm like, so what? If I found out my granddad were a porn star, I'd be like, oh, buzzing, show me this.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm selling my soul, but I do feel like I'm affecting myself in some sort of way. Definitely sex life wise.
Yeah.
It's definitely affecting me that way, because sometimes, like this morning, Emily wanted to have sex. I didn't, because I know I've got some OnlyFans content to take, and if I have sex now, I'm not going to be able to get motivated to take content. So it affects me in that sort of way. But trauma wise, it is a tricky one. There probably is something there, because when I'm in a bored state, like when I'm driving a long distance, it pops up into my mind.
Being what?
Would I be more comfortable just cutting it off right now?
Yeah. Sales, the thing that I'll agree with is, you say you're selling your soul, and I probably use that as a strong phrase to you sometimes, but we all sell a soul in some way.
Yeah.
But the only true way to know it fully is the stuff I do, podcasting and sales to a degree. I've always been fascinated by that. I was fascinated by that when I was making no money.
Yeah.
So if you were to take the money, right, and there were no exchange in money, I don't believe you'd do it in any facet, do you?
No.
Whereas the things that I am naturally intrigued by, I've always tried to just, right. And people come up to me when I'm in the pub, there's some of the weird stuff I did, like network marketing. I was always intrigued by that, even when it made me no money. And I was that passionate about it that I just eventually figured out how to monetize it and make it work. Whereas if you've got those feelings, there's no problem at all, man, for what you're doing and the living you're making, the lifestyle you're making. But it's also a smart choice, I think, for you to, with the time you've got, there's many avenues you can go, and we're still, man, I know we joke about being old, we're still so young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just getting involved with this internet world, the people we're going to meet, the connections that we get, you don't know where it'll lead. Do you know what I mean? And back to that point, everybody sells a soul, mate. And we all sell a soul for money in some facet, There's responsibilities and commitments for the money you need for the lifestyle you want. So everybody does. The warehouse worker, the person doing the checkout, the person who we just saw fucking putting tickets on people's cars. He's selling his soul. Like, he won't be doing that if there were no money exchange.
Yeah, definitely not.
So you have to feel it like that. But I just feel like for you, it's an interesting point just to sit on sometimes. Your life's so chaotic sometimes. I said this to you, that you never really get time to sort of unpack what you're actually feeling and then be able to course correct, or just even just sit and think about it, like, how does it actually make me feel?
Yeah.
Most people don't take that time. I know I don't.
No. This is why I like the drive. It was a 10.5-hour drive there, 10.5-hour drive back. The way there, I was just listening to podcasts, weren't thinking, but the way back, when she's a bit quiet, you're on your way home, it's back to reality a little bit.
Yeah.
You're actually trying to...
You're getting back through the gears a bit.
That's it, yeah. So that's when she asked that question, and then I thought a bit further myself about having a kid, and then I thought to myself, I've got the financial backing now to stop and be able to have a couple of months or years or whatever, just getting by. But would I be more happy now if I stopped doing OnlyFans, never had to take another picture like that again, never had to talk to another guy in a certain way, never had to try and schedule posts and that? Yeah, probably. Because I'd feel better in myself that I'm worth more than that, which I know I am worth more than that. The only thing that keeps me there is, like you say, the money.
The financial gain.
That's it. I'm not gaining anything else out of it other than that. And I suppose I'm building like a loyal fan base from them, because I know if I brought out an underwear company
they'd support it.
They'd 100% support it more than what most of me Instagram or Twitter or whatever followers would. Even my Twitter followers are more like
even close friends and family, innit?
100%, yeah.
So where we'll bring it full circle. You mentioned there the 10.5-hour drive there and back. I could see that you started thinking as you were coming back. Me and you were starting to exchange WhatsApp messages. You've been doing a lot of due diligence on certain things to do with sleep, progressing the podcast, progressing you, no doubt, and just moving you further along as a man. I think we should, when we do these solo casts, and I want to do these a little bit more, like trying, for the people following along and people listening, try and give them not action steps for them to follow. So we don't be like a tutor or a coach or anything like that, but what are you working on And then I think it'll make us accountable. I mean, you, more so me, have been speaking about me weed consumption and just how you accept that and feel that's right, even though it's probably not adding to your life at all. It's probably taken away from certain things of where you are.
Yeah.
What are you seriously considering working on, and what are your takeaways for sort of the next? Let's say we try and do these just once a month, and then let's just see if we can be accountable to followers and ourselves to push that on.
Yeah. I feel like since we launched Fully Game, and we've been so focused on it and deciding whether morning routine's most important, is working as hard as you can every single day the most important? Do you need a balance? Do you need to be doing this? Vlogs, everything. My mind's just got cluttered. And I went through a routine of good morning routine, good diet, good training, good editing, loving it, thriving, gaining followers, gaining subscribers, getting more comments, doing all that sort of thing. As soon as it starts getting too much and you forget about taking care of yourself, because like I said, I was doing the meditating, I did it a few days on the bounce, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm healed, I'm so motivated, my mind's so clear, I don't need to meditate anymore. And I keep falling off that wagon. Same with weed. I say, oh, I'm stopping it now. I'll have 2 or 3 weeks off, and then I'll just be like, oh, I'll have it once. Then it's every day again for another month
like
or two.
a secret devil in it almost.
Yeah. So I feel like rather than just playing at it, these people whose books we read and whose podcasts we watch and talks that we listen to, the way that they all resonate is because they all say you've got to create these good habits and be a slave to them. As soon as you start having bad habits and then you become a slave to them, let's say vaping, smoking, eating shit, drinking, as soon as you get these bad habits that are no good for you, but you become a slave to them anyway and you want to do them every day, just like smoking weed is for both of us. I now want to create these good habits again, meditating, not smoking, barely drinking, clean eating, training, flow state of work.
And do you do that just so I can understand this and unpack it? Are you doing this solely so you feel a certain way?
Yeah, that's
solely that's the end goal.
It's
you want to feel a certain level, and what is that feeling?
The feeling is, it's that feeling that I get after I do everything right for a week. But the issue is when I feel like in my head I'm fixed. And when I say fixed, I mean my mind's clear again. I can have a conversation without trying to think of what I'm going to say next, because my mind's all jumbled up and I'm worried and I'm anxious about what they're going to ask me on the next question. Or if I'm talking to my missus' mum and dad and they go, how are you driving? I go, yeah, really good, thanks, how are yours? And then I'm like, fuck, they didn't even drive, the live here. Like, just being like that. And it's all because weed jumbles your head up. Diet obviously fucks your gut up, which is your second brain. If I'm boozing and I'm rough and I'm demotivated, my work's not going well, I ain't posting OnlyFans.
Poor sleep.
It all just fucking falls downhill, mate. So I feel like all I'm literally working on now is, and I'm not even going to do this just so that people can, I'm not going to go, make sure you meditate, make sure you do this, because if I were going to sit here and do that, I'd be an hypocrite, because I've thought about all this and I've read it and I've written it down and I've done all this, and now is when I'm going to put it into play myself. So I'm not even going to tell these guys to do it. I'm just going to say that I'm doing it from now on.
Yeah, document what you're doing.
And yeah, I'm going to be spending less time. And I hope and I think that you're going to stop down or slow weed, just because I know. I'm not saying it affects you, but if it affects you like it,
100% does.
Yeah. So if it affects you like it affects me, I know that we're just dragging his asses with stuff. And from having time away from it, I realise how much more optimal you are. So if I get my sleep right, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, doing all the dimming lights and all that sort of stuff, I'm reading at least 1 chapter a day. I'm writing stuff down. I want to start a diary now as well, because there were a guy on the diary of the CEO, and he was saying, and the Matthew McConaughey book, the reason his book's so successful is because he's written a diary and he's remembered it all. Yeah. And I've fucking forgot most of my stories, but if I'm starting from now, fresh, no weed, good sleep, recovery, training, eating healthy, being comfortable, spending time in myself, and then start diarying, journaling, documenting, everything else is going to come with it, because I know that I can. We did that agency in a day, and then since then I've not pushed it because I've been focusing on other stuff. And it's not that I've been more busy, because I haven't. I've probably been less busy, but I've been more distracted.
Yeah, the interesting point there that resonated with me is you're doing all that so you're comfortable in your own skin. It's powerful, that. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people, if you really, I'm just thinking about it for myself now, I hate being by myself.
Yeah.
You hate that silence, you hate that. You are you, aren't you? Yeah. And you know deep down, everyone who's listened to this, me and yourself included, you know if you're doing the right things or not. And there's a feeling attached to that. And there's a scale there in your own head almost, if that makes sense, that you know if you're doing the right stuff.
Yeah.
You can read all the books in the world and you can watch what other people are doing and listen to them, but you know if you... And it's probably true that strip it all back, you can't sit in an empty room by yourself and be at peace with who you are, what you're about, how you look after other people, all these things that actually matter.
Yeah.
That's probably why when we've got lost in this, you know, when me and you have debated sort of like what to put out, it's yes, you want it to be fun, but ultimately, Tate brought it up regarding Logan Paul the other day, and listen, I watched both of them, so who am I to say anything? But it's like, you mentioned Aiden Ross as well. It's like these people in such a powerful position, and we're building a following now as well. Even, you know, there's a following there, and you also want to have that ability inside your messaging and how we live our lives ultimately. That there's some takeaways there, and you're a bit of a fucking. You always bring it back to that spot, that lighthouse or a north star.
Yeah.
Like we know if we're on that right path or not, mate. And we're trying our best. We're juggling lots of things as well. But I think you're correct there that a true reader on that is, can you sit by yourself and be at peace and be content? And you know, Aubrey Marcus, like I think you could, you know, when he did the dark retreat, mate, that'd be crazy. Because everything will unpack then. What you've got no sensory input. For that amount of time, you're going to be super alone with your thoughts. Yeah. Probably going to see everything.
The podcast that I watched yesterday that I keep talking about, the brain doctor talks about one of his most intelligent friends who went out and lived with tribes for 9 months of the year.
Yeah.
He spoke none of the language. He only spoke to him in sign. They didn't speak to him, but it was around him. He communicated with them, but by like doing all this. He couldn't speak the language. He didn't want to learn it. They wouldn't teach him. And he'd come back after that 9 months and speak to him. And he said every time he'd become way more intelligent. And when he asked him, like, what are you reading out there? Are you doing this? Are they teaching you stuff? He's like, no, but all this time not speaking and just thinking, I figure stuff out. I'm not saying it's a magical power that you sit there on your own and you just become magically smart. But if you just give yourself time to think and unwind everything and do all that sort of stuff.
I think a big takeaway for me there is I'm going to limit this.
Yeah.
Like I'll show you on the next pod. So what were mine 6 hours? Yours were just shy of 5. Let's try and bring that down.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest here, most of mine there, that screen time will be watching podcasts.
Yeah.
Because I've just been driving.
Yeah, same with me. Reading Twitter, responding, seeing comments, trying to, you know, somewhat in your head you're thinking you're doing business development, but you're not. No. Probably half an hour if it's business development and pushing yourself forward.
100%. Like if I sit on a TikTok thing, I can start
TikTok were never my jam, man.
Is it not?
Never got lost in that.
The only reason I sometimes get lost in it is because the algorithm, whatever you're into, it sticks with it.
Yeah, it's good.
So I know that if I'm really into alien stuff, I'm going to be watching alien stuff, and I can go down a little rabbit hole, and I can. But the issue with that is what we always say is if you're not writing stuff down, you can watch it, learn it, and go, oh my god, yeah, that is crazy. Then you go into the next one, that's just forgot about.
Yeah.
Well,
it's now. I used to just watch because when I first started wanting to do personal development online, there weren't that much out there.
No.
That's how old I'm sounding now. So when someone put a seminar out, man, I buzzed for it all week. Like I used to have Sundays where I'd watch seminars, and on Sunday I'm watching that, and I sat down with me notepad for actionable takeaway steps. Now you're just inundated with it, so you can feel like you're doing something positive because you could sit and watch 100 Gary Vee videos, fucking Andy Frisella, Aubrey Marcus, fucking the list goes on and on, who you could listen to. But what are you actually actioning?
Yeah.
Because if you're getting the dopamine hit from the information coming in. Yeah. But I remember David Eminite say, like, you know, if you break the word down, information, it comes in, it should form, then action. Like if you don't do it in that order, you have to take that correct input in, form it in your head so it's logic for your sort of path you're on, then action it. If you're not doing that, what's the fucking point? Wasting your time.
This also is why the question that you asked me then about what's my game plan now. Yeah. The reason why I'm doing it is because we're spending time reading these books and watching these videos and doing all that stuff. What's point in figuring it out and going, yeah, that's what I'm doing wrong. That's what I need to do. Oh, I never thought about that. And not actioning it. Not even having the fucking self-worth to convince myself to do these things. It's like I keep...
Do you ever read though, so does everything you consume have to correlate to an action in your life? Could you not just consume some content if you're reading an insight into politics or an insight into whatever, like some interest that might not necessarily be something that you're into now, just so you can gain insight?
I like it to relate to what I'm doing.
You're not interested in gaining insight so you could conversate about the ideas?
No, because I feel like I'm, not that I'm struggling, but if I'm learning something new about the brain or about sleep or anything like that.
So yours always proactive. I'm reading this so I can get an action point to take away.
Yeah. And I'm, you say about finding golden nuggets, and you just said then, like back then in your day, there'd be one seminar that would come out every Sunday that you could watch.
Yeah.
Or I can spend a week or two reading a book and writing my golden nuggets down. Or with podcasts now, up to a month or so ago, I'd watch a podcast. Oh yeah, that's loads of good information. Not take note, forget it. But I'd know I've watched it, and I'd say, oh, it's a good podcast. What happens in it? Don't know. But now, the drive home yesterday, any golden nugget come up, I was like, write that down for me. Write this down. Write whatever that is. I want to look into.
I remember a lot in my mind though. Like,
yeah, I know you do.
If I go back through Gary Vee stuff now, I could like just spit it for verbatim.
Really?
I do. I'm quick. I'm fairly quick to action it, but then I do agree that if you're not finding golden nuggets, what's the point?
Yeah, that's my issue. I sleep on it.
Yeah.
So I'll find it. I'll know I've got to do something.
Yeah.
I'll send you it. And go,
I can.
look,
I can see.
Is.
You know, like when I sent that when Amber bought the hoodie.
Yeah.
It's like you've got that ability because
Yeah.
you're smart enough to just send a DM. But I think you do sometimes just procrastinate on it a little bit.
Yeah,
you.
too right. And it's like,
Why is that? Do you think it's because you're a perfectionist?
And I also think it's because I like to just juggle as many things as I can, and I feel like it's a bad mistake. And I've always been like this. People always say to me, "Is there anything you're not good at?" Like, I'm not being big-headed here, but usually any sports, anything, like I always know a little bit about everything, or I can do something to a certain degree. But I'm a master of nothing. And this is like the poker night, for instance. We're saying we're doing it. We're getting this date. We've got connection. We've got the tables.
Ring him up now.
Ring him up.
Piece
Let's
of
see what
shit.
he's saying.
Hello.
No, Squire.
Now then, you want podcast, mate? Don't say obscene. The next step is this. I want you to go into your calendar now.
Thursday, 31st would be good for me.
Thursday the 31st. How's that look?
2 week today.
2 week today.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Ellis here, and I'm thinking he's wanting professional tables straight off the bat.
Strippers walking around with shot glasses and that.
Come see the venue. Let's get this boxed off, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. All right.
Right, you're a star, mate. Thank you.
All right, mate.
Cheers. See, fucking just get me involved, mate. Put me in front of him. I'll close him.
Think to that.
Nevin versus Tierney.
Yeah.
I have to back my boy there, mate.
Yeah, 100%. Nevin's definitely getting on this. Someone's definitely said, you need to start fucking calling people out on social media or you're not going to get these fights. Probably Bakewell. And he's started, to be fair to him. Andy Ray's just followed me back. Got Andy Ray on the podcast next week.
Yeah, let's just break down what's just happened there. So we've had a huge success with the Denny Christie podcast. I think it's on like 27K now. We're happy with that. We've got a bit of a system galvanized now where we're confident, aren't we, with what we're doing. Give some of the like, share, subscribe stuff out for me. What can we get the boys to do? And then I'll quickly mention the merch that we're gonna get. We're gonna get the designs better because I know what you fucking think like. So just a start's a start.
Nah, I think they look good.
Start's a start. So I'll bash the merch. We'll put the link to the merchandise. Anyone who wants to support the podcast, we'll get the designs better. But at the minute, it's just some plain stuff so you can rep the brand, support the podcast. It helps us grow the channel and whatnot.
Guys, this is an emergency. No joke. I really need your help here, guys. A lot of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel and it's really affecting the brand.
It's affecting the brand. Why do they always... I always do this. Like when I first started making content, why do they always say guys? I always say boys now, though, because it's very difficult. What do you say? Hello, it's Josh again.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. One thing I will say is, please, for the sake of the channel and the content and everything else, it's not hard. You've already got a YouTube channel. Just literally click the subscribe button right there.
Yeah.
Click the notifications so you don't miss when we post a podcast, and just like, share, and comment on every single post you see.
Yeah, I think an easy one for people watching there is just share it a little bit. You know, if what we're doing now, where we're not running ads or anything like that, and we want to get this channel known so we can attract bigger guests, our conversation will continue to evolve. If people are sharing it, and you know, it just reaches some new eyeballs, it's going to resonate with some people what we're talking about. So that's all I can really ask there, is that just push it out a little bit. I know it's UK culture where we don't, it's just a weird culture that we don't share stuff. It gets it out there, you know, especially in the YouTube algorithm and whatnot. It just seems to be a space that's difficult to break through if you're not in that explore section and it's spitting your content out to the right people. Just for what we talk about. We talk about real stuff, don't we? So I'll put the link to the merch. I'm going to get as model here to rep some of the stuff, and then we'll probably get a little, I won't mind making a little bit of a video with some new designs there. My idea with this is just to have the plain stuff there for people that they can buy. It's obviously they're getting clothing for it, for the exchange of the money. And then just occasionally just run some different designs.
Nice
just some nice prints and really put us time into it. So the supply we're using at the minute, we've just taken the step to invest a little bit more in that. It opens up more designs, opens up more. You know, we can probably bring like just, you know, cups and shit like that. I know it sounds fucking cheesy,
you
but
definitely need them.
I just feel we're going to do that as well. So that's just a part of what we've got. For all those business members out there, I massively appreciate that. You're going to be in the intros, you're going to be in the outros. With us just committing to one day a week, I don't want to say we're going to do X, Y, and Z, but we definitely want to involve as business members in the poker nights, and we want to sort of, like I said, let me explain it simply what I want them to do. I want them to make content so we can share it, which is a very easy win for any business owner out there. If you just make content on your own social media, I'm explaining it right,
Yeah, 100%.
on your social media platforms, we can share it. And fingers crossed, when I start putting my business cap onto it and we evolve this and build it and develop it, we'll build a solid business network, mate, which everyone's going to benefit from. So for all the Patreons out there who are supporting with the £50 a month, I massively appreciate that. It's massive.
And if you're enjoying the podcast so far, don't just keep it to yourself. Don't just like the podcast on YouTube. Put some comments in the comments section. Share it on Instagram. Tag our Instagram. We'll repost it. Let's just get it all shared about. Like, I know there's a lot of ghost viewers who just sit there and watch it, and they do enjoy what we put on, and they'll say to us when they see us, like, oh, I loved your podcast with so-and-so. Share it. Help us get the word about. Turn your notifications on. Get the subscribe button hit. And we'll see you next week.
Yes, boys.
In a garden of Peter, honey, don't you know that I'm loving you? In a garden of Peter, baby, don't you know that I'll always be true?